and so much more. Ground Zero, Season 2.
Hello Uganda, you are most welcome to this very edition of Ground Zero. We are broadcasting live on 98 FM UBC Radio. We also live and clear on our sister radio stations UBC West Nile FM, Butebo FM and Magic One on 100 FM. This is a very beautiful day that I believe the Lord has made, and we must be glad and rejoice in it. And I'm glad that you're part of us from the beginning of this week, and you've been with us during the week and until today. We start our Ground Zero right now. Ambaire Amon Otega is my name, and I'm so happy to have been joined by a special team of guests who are going to discuss important issues of national development, but also address people's concerns in as far as our lives are concerned. Today we are talking about something special and important that needs our serious concern, because it is a concern itself. We're going to talk about our life. We're going to talk about environment that we operate in our workplaces, and this is a various concern that I believe we must give attention. Our topic today in this edition of Ground Zero, we are looking at how best we can sustain a safe and healthy work environment culture in Uganda. Do we go to work because we've been pushed to work? Do we go to work because there are more of pull factors? Are you happy where you are working from? Are you comfortable with the environment that you operate in? Do you have enough resources? Do you have all it takes that provides you with the opportunities to effectively give your labor? I am so much glad to have been joined by the leaders, the workers, the heads of the workers, and are going to be sharing their insights and ideas about this very important topic. In the studios, I have Dr. Byakatonda Abdul, Workers Member of Parliament. Mr. Robert Keno is the General Secretary of Uganda Scientists, Researchers and Allied Workers Union. And we also have Ms. Atim Roda, is a public sector employee. They're going to tell us what needs to be done, how best we can have a better work environment culture in Uganda, or how far Uganda is going, what we are still lacking, and how best we can achieve it. I'll give great our dear listeners, starting with Honorable.
Thank you very much. My name is Byakatonda Abdul, Workers Member of Parliament. I want to thank UBC specifically for choosing this very important topic, and that disseminate information is going to help the country. It's going to increase productivity and ensure that the lives of our workers are safe, they live under a healthy environment. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Most welcome. Robert Kano.
I want to thank you, Mr. Amon, for hosting us today on this important program, which is national and international. Thank you.
Most welcome, Atim.
Thank you so much, UBC, for this opportunity. It's a pleasure to be part of the team that is discussing safety and health at workplaces, especially at the time when we're preparing to celebrate to remember our role and responsibilities under the occupational safety and health of workers. Thank you.
Most welcome, and I want to welcome our dear listener that you are listening us from wherever you are on radio. We are on UBC Radio. We are on UBC Western Nile FM. We are also on Butebo Radio and Magic 1 and 100 FM. And for those who can access us online, we're on YouTube live. Just type in UBC Ground Zero and you'll be part of this important conversation. What do you think needs to be done, especially at our workplaces? This is UBC Ground Zero. Ambaire Amon Otegir is my name, and you've heard the big team that I have in the studios. And you will join later on 776-511-426. The number you will call us on is 776-511-426, and you'll be part of this important conversation. You will tell us what are those challenges you meet at workplace, or what you expect to be done, especially in Uganda. If I can get one listener also to introduce us in this very important edition of Ground Zero. UBC Radio.
Yes, I'm Ire Mitega. This is Juma from Busega, representing. We are ready for the show, and we are welcome.
Most welcome.
Thank you, Papa.
All right. Having heard from the team in the studios and part of our listeners, we can officially start our Ground Zero now. We are looking at how best we can sustain a safe and healthy work environment culture in Uganda, starting with the Honorable Byakatonda. What is that is considered as safe and healthy work environment culture?
Our listeners, I want to thank you for this very important topic. I think occupational safety and health is one of the core pillars of an average society. Globally, we are looking at a number of conventions that actually spell out key issues on safety and health. And of course, in this one, we are looking at our focus is basically on preventive measures, where we are seeing that the world of work is free of hazards, and people can actually work in such an environment. So the key issue here is that, one, as a parliament, we have come up with a number of enabling laws. And these laws try to focus on addressing a number of issues pertaining to occupational health and safety. But the key issue is, before we talk of sustaining it, is it available in our workplaces? Are there strict adherence to issues of safety and health? I think this is one of the most important issues that we need to focus on. You find that our listeners, we have a number of enabling laws. One, the Constitution of Uganda, under the Principle and Directive Standard Principle 5, we are looking at rights of workers. But we find that in implementation, there are gaps, and these are the issues we want to address. So in addressing this, it means that we need a participatory approach to ensure that at least the workers on the other side really know what their rights. And you find that in the Constitution, we could manage this when we talk of what we call organized labor. Organized labor per se is provided for under Article 24 of the Constitution. We are looking at rights. When you look at Article 29(1)(e), we are looking at the right of unionization, coming together. When we come together, we are moving under tripartite arrangement, where we are having the government, the worker, and the employer. So we should be able to really to focus on the discussions and ensure that we bring out issues that matter. The other enabling law is the Employment Act. We are talking about how to address issues. The coming into force of the Employment Act in 2006 in Uganda was a refined document that came to help address a number of issues. Then we are looking at the Labor Union Act. We are looking at the Labor Dispute and Arbitration and Settlement Machinery Act, which has brought into force over the years the Industrial Court. We are also looking at the Occupational Safety and Health Act. In this one, we are trying to put across a number of key issues. How do hazardous things be handled? How does the inadequacies in the work environment be handled? How are LCS handled, the safety, and a number of things. So all these acts are in place. Then you are looking at the Public Service Negotiating, Consultative and Disputed Settlement Machinery Act of 2008. This Act 1 is basically trying to see that at least a way of the situation that's prevailing in a number of institutions in the world of work we should be able to look at mechanisms to address a number of issues. Some of these issues are issues like when we talk of leave, we talk of health, we talk of safety, we talk of promotions. Actually, most of these are issues that must be handled adequately to ensure that at least if we are talking about sustainability of a culture that is promoting safety and health, we must actually focus on this. But per se, our kind of occupation would have been to ensure that at least all these laws, especially this one, is implemented fully. Whereby, in any institution of government, in any ministry, in any department, in any MDAs, in any local government, we must have consultative committees that must address these issues. And these issues now turn into disputes, which we must handle. But of course, per se, we must look at sustainable environment. Then we are looking at the minimum wage instruments which are available. We are looking at the NSF Act, much as we don't have the minimum wage up now, which is one of the precursor for ensuring that at least we promote safety and health. Then we are looking at the Workman Compensation Act, which has been there since 2000. But how is it implemented? How is the Pension Act? We are looking at the Equal Opportunity Commission. Equal Opportunity Commission now should be able to look at a number of challenges, look at the balance between how the workforce and the employer are really benefiting from occupational safety and health sustainably. These are very important milestones that we need to. Then we are looking at the National Tripartite Chapter on Labor Relations, which is very important, because what we are envisaging here is that, one, if we are talking of safety, there must be the provider and then the beneficiary. Whereby now, in this particular arrangement, under the tripartite arrangement, government should be one to provide most of these things. For example, when we talk of issues of policy, issues of implementation, I think all these are challenges. Much as there are acts, you find that studies show that over 80% of the workplaces in Uganda do not meet an average issues like occupational safety and health. So these are very key issues that we must handle. So because globally, we are now looking at a number of things. Because we are saying the ILO conventions and recommendations thereof are trying to establish issues of occupational safety and health and implementing a coherent and national policies on ensuring that we accept issues of safety and health through changes between the government, workers, and employers organization, and promote a national preventive safety health campaign and culture. But you find that in so doing, we have not actually met the basics. You find that such conventions include Convention 187, which also talks about occupational safety and health. We are talking of Convention 155, and this one came into force as early as 1960s. But we find that up to now, implementation is still actually not actually appropriate, not actually adequately done. Then you can look at Convention 120, which is looking at health and welfare of workers. So what defeats logic is that Uganda has ratified these conventions. Uganda has come up with a number of enabling laws. So what I want to urge Ugandans, especially the workers, is to ensure that, one, we do not actually take a back seat in what pertains to the workers, but we must come together and ensure that we implement these issues to detail. Recently, when I was coming up with elections, when I offered myself elections in my manifesto, I've looked at advocacy for issues of safety and health as one of the key things. And by so doing, we want to ensure that, one, we move across the board. We moved all institutions. We moved all workers' organizations to see that at least these parameters are addressed. Because our listeners, when we do not address these issues of safety and health in our workplaces, they have a lot of, they are twofold. One, the impact on motivation of workers. Two, the impact on health. Three, the impact on productivity.
Yeah, true.
Yes, so this must be addressed. And I think they're a given, because they stem from the Universal Declaration of Human Rights of 1948. That's why enabling laws have come. That's why conventions have come in place. That's why you have a number of ILO recommendations on issues of safety and health. And we find that in most of these ministries, we have actually an officer in charge of safety and health. But the issues, are they really being used? Are they measuring to the challenge? Are they really offering what is desired by the workforce? So these are issues that we must handle appropriately and ensure that we move in that strategic direction. As I first mentioned is that one, in enforcement of these, in a number of these laws, for example, in organizations, in the districts, we are having the labor officers. The labor officers must be the vanguards. They must be the enforcers of most of these challenges. In the workman's compensation, even when somebody, the posture, the sitting posture, the aeration, all these are key issues that must be addressed as a matter of urgency. So I want to thank you for this very important topic today, and I think we shall have a discussion with the listeners. Colleagues are here; they are all competent people in this matter, and I would like to ensure that at least we discuss and come up with solutions, especially when we are moving towards Labor Day. The problem has been we celebrate Labor Day every year in, year out. But what are the key milestones that we achieve? We must be able to take stock of what is pertaining to key issues like this. Occupational safety is not actually optional; it's just mandatory, and we must ensure that in our workplaces, inspectors move to these workplaces and ensure that issues of safety and health are handled. You can imagine, how can we in a country there have no policy on health insurance? How can we fail to have enforcement on abuses of issues of health and safety and health? So these are very important milestones that we need to look at and ensure that we move in a strategic direction to achieve a desired direction. I thank you.
You're most welcome. Robert, before you give us your opinion on what you think about this safety work environment culture, what is about that platform that you lead, the General Secretary of Uganda Scientists and Researchers? What do you do? How are you connected or helping the people, especially the workers in Uganda? Robert.
Thank you, Brother Hammond. My organization, Uganda Scientists, Researchers and Leader Workers Union, is one of the key sectors in the country and one of the most sensitive unions, which is directly deals with the health and safety. As scientists, there are a number of issues which cut across to all human beings, and as a scientist, we are very sensitive about health and safety at workplaces. Now here, as we are we are heading to international occupational safety and health. This is a very good program for our people who are working in factories and different workplaces to note that they have a duty also to protect their lives at place of work. In most cases, employers ignore, but we as workers and from science sector, we promote the health first, safety, then your well-being at your workplace. You find that in most cases, workers stay longer in their workplace, but they get a lot of sicknesses, which make them which become serious in their lives. Therefore, under the legal framework from both national and international perspective by World Health Organization and LO, we found that in 1944, this was one of the key areas where the ILO and World Health Organization picked that convention, which was already formulated by International Civil Aviation Organization. This organization which deals with air transport. And for them, it's a mandatory or a regulation. Once you are traveling, these are the precautions they give you when you are entering an aircraft. They promote safety, your safety first, health, then you can sit down, you can sit comfortably in your aircraft. That's why you find that in our conventions, these are areas which are like World Health Organization addresses and ILO everywhere across the globe. For now, we have a duty in our country. The theme says we act together to build a positive safety, a positive safety, and a good health environment at workplace as a culture. We need to adopt this as a culture, and most people don't take it serious in workplaces. Employers tend to ignore most of the regulations given by government, like Minister of Gender Labor, who regulates this department in all workplaces. You find that when someone is starting a business, he doesn't consult Minister of Labor for further guidance. And in most cases, you find that workers suffer a lot because they don't know their right. And the employer who did not consult the regulating ministry to give them guidance how they can keep employees at the workplace. When as unions, we go and enforce these laws in workplaces, but in most cases you find that an employer doesn't want even to see a union around. The theme of this year is very, 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 very important, which I think everybody should get to know and appreciate how the government came up with this theme for purposes of protecting our workers and promoting safety and health as a culture in our workplace. Thank you.
Most welcome. We've been joined by Mr. Ogwal Alex, is the Principal General Safety Inspector, Department of Occupational Safety and Health. You're most welcome. You may as well greet our dear listener.
Yeah, thank you very much, moderator, the panelists, and the listeners. Sorry I'm late. I got trapped in the jam for about 1 hour.
Sorry.
Because of that question. But there is no problem. Finally, I'm here. I believe you have started on well. I'm Alex Ogwal, Principal General Inspector from Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development. I think I'm pleased to be with this team this morning to discuss the issue of safety and health culture in our workplace. Thank you very much.
Most welcome. I think jam is one of the things that make us not effectively do our work in Uganda.
That is also a safety issue.
I hope the ministry and Honorable Byakatonda will look into that in the next year.
Seriously.
Sure. Because the workers are always punished not reporting to work in time. All right. Atim.
Yes, please.
You are a government worker.
Yes, please.
Is working in a government more of a pull factor or a push?
Listeners, what we mean by a public sector employees is that government is the biggest employer in the country, you know. That means we draw our funds from the government pocket. It is literally, it's not a push, but it is a service, offering service to the public. That means that there may be enough, there may not be enough. But in terms of safety and health, We have enough regulations. Dr. Biakatonda has elaborately explained some of them and which apply to us. The concern that we need to undertake here today is to realize that safety and health is not a management issue only. It is both employees and managers, and management rather. That means that institutions have a role to play in putting into place safe working environment, providing protective wear, providing safe working environment. Equally, employees have to embrace this. Safety starts with an individual. An employee must be able to realize that this working environment is not safe. If an employee continues to work in an unsafe environment without speaking out, management is not an island. My boss, my supervisor, or a manager in this case may sit in a comfortable office which has enough light, which has a ventilation, he's served with tea, and a junior officer may be sitting in a corridor, and it is his right to speak out. Dr. Biakatonda said something about human rights. If an employee is not able to speak up and say that, no, this environment I am working in is not safe, the regulations may not really help us, because the formulation of regulations is at a certain level, implementation is at a certain level, and then the beneficiaries are the last people, which are the employers. So when we are looking at safety and health at workplaces, we need to consider that staff or workers or employees can be affected physically, mentally, and their work output can be reduced. So to develop a culture of safety and health, all the stakeholders must have a role to play. Government, which has provided the regulations, the institutions that implement the regulations, and the employees who work in the environment. So I urge the employees to take up their role. Let we workers stop looking at management and government and lamenting, because the effects of poor working conditions affects the employees most. For now, we throw up the discussions further.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Gwal, what is that you call the safe environment? Especially, you can give us a light about your office and the department that you lead in that very ministry, and perhaps our worker outside there would know where to run, or if you are much of help in case they have or they meet such challenges at work. Ogwal.
Yeah, thank you very much, moderator, and the panelists and the listeners. It is I work for Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development in the Department of Occupational Health and Occupational Safety and Health. I'm a principal inspector there. And what you consider maybe the location is just behind the CPS. With the big writings now, it is Gender and Labor House. Some time back, they used to call it Sebamanya House. So that is the location of the ministry where you can easily find us. We have several departments there. There's specifically for labor. If there are labor issues, there's a department for labor and all this. What we would consider to be a work good or a safety and health environment which is suitable for us to deliver, they must have some elements. And these elements, I've listed them down here. There are 8, which each of us, if you are trying to maybe set up a business, set up an industry, set up a factory or another thing, or create a job, this is the thing that you need to understand. Once you have come up with the idea of having a business or which you will employ people for you to deliver, as management, as you set your management, I found one of the panelists here talking about commitments. There must be a management commitment, an investment in the issue of safety and health for us to be effective and for that workplace to be considered as friendly and safe for us to work in. 2, we must be satisfied with the job that we do, because you might be satisfied with the title, you might be satisfied with maybe the salary, but the work condition, like the office, the sitting arrangement, is not satisfactory, and you find you are always at wrangles and you are always not feeling unease and you cannot deliver to the expectation. So you must be satisfied with the job that you do. Then 3, as business owners, we must be able to train our workers time and again. Training should not stop. We must provide equipment that is needed for us to deliver, or for the workers to deliver. Then also the physical environment should be friendly, where they can relax. Like here, you see outside here, there is a friendly, free circulation of air. You can sit, relax under a tree, all these, take tea somewhere, and all this. Then the organization itself must be committed. Because if the management is committed and the organization is not committed, then we are also wasting time. Because the management of UBC can be committed, but the organization, which includes even the board of directors and all this, if they are not committed to appropriate resources to make management deliver, then that is an issue. So the organization must be committed to support on the issue of safety and health in the workplace. Then as we are setting safety and health environment or work condition, workers must be involved. We should not just sit in office, draw up guidelines, come with the policies without involving workers. So I think workers must be involved and consulted heavily as we come out with the safety and issue or guidelines to be followed in a workplace. Then the 6th one, the co-workers. The theme for this year, as we celebrate or we commemorate Occupational World Day for Safety and Health, is act together to build a positive culture, a positive health culture. Co-workers, a worker must support a worker. We must support one another in delivering. So you should not say that is his problem. When he's not sitting well, that is his problem. With you, you are comfortable in the office, and your office is well ventilated and lit and all this. But we must talk together, say, talk to management, say this work condition for this worker is not good. We must act together. You see, I give you an example. The issue of safety in a bus. Sometime in Uganda there was a law where the traffic regulation where you are supposed to put on a safety belt as you are traveling. But today there's nobody who puts on a safety belt in a bus. Now, and nobody to tell the colleague whom you are seated with that you put on a safety belt. So it becomes business as usual. So we must support one another and keep reminding ourselves. I like people when they're giving you a lift in their vehicle and you are seated and it tells you, before we set up, you put on your safety belt. That is the kind of culture, that is the support.
And we call them that they are harsh.
Yeah, sometimes we call them they're harsh, they're proud, they don't want to carry you, but he's telling you to be conscious, he's protecting you. Then we must be able to measure performance. Yes. Measure performance as an individual, measure performance as a department, measure performance as an organization. As you measure performance, then you evaluate. Have we succeeded in this that we have set as our safety and health measures? If not, what strategies should we now put in place again to make us succeed if we have not there? Then finally, we must be personally accountable for all our actions. If we are personally accountable, then the issue of safety and health at work environment will be something that all of us will cherish and will see what we are calling economic transformation in our country, development in our country. Basically, those are the elements. When we set all these, I think we will have an environment that is safe and it is good for us to work in. But all these also come with a roadmap, which may be, when you give me time later on, I will give the values, the roadmap that we can set and we move on to make sure that as we harness these essential elements, we also must work on the roadmap and make sure that we succeed. Thank you.
Most welcome, Mr. Ogwal. Alex is the Principal General Safety Inspector from the Department of Occupational Safety and
Health. Yes.
Yeah, right. Honorable, you've heard from the principal, especially talking about the physical environment. I have more often seen most of the organizations and institutions operate in small areas. People have turned their sitting rooms, living rooms, dining and bedrooms as offices. Someone says, I have a big house, can I put the 2 bedrooms as my office? And tomorrow you start recruiting. What is considered to be a better workplace? Can I turn my living room into an office and tomorrow I recruit workers?
Absolutely not. Actually, you see, I think there is an element of doing things. But all this stems from lack of enforcement and adherence to minimum standards. Because we talk of the minimum international standards. And by this, it is stressed from the ILO conventions and recommendations. But suffice to mention, by practice, I'm a human resource manager. By training, I've been a human resource manager for certain years, and by training. And most people, I think, are these professional human resource managers, practitioners, because they tend to bury their heads in the sand like an ostrich, and they don't want to know what's happening. For me, I can tell in one of the stations I was human resource manager, Uganda Bureau of Standards. But when I came to the office, before even I was promoted, I told them, no, like this. Look, and we need to pass the buck because we don't have the capacity. Can we have insurance for our workers? And that medical insurance is still actually existing in that place.
You are not fired?
No, of course, that's a very long story. And of course, I'm seeing workers are being exploited through financial institutions. Can we form a circle? That circle is now one of the biggest in the country.
Okay.
And then, of course, I told them, of course, we need to place people in the right place. Can we do competence profiling? Can we do job evaluation? We did this. And I was one of the emergency managers who were to first join the union. Because I read Article 29 of the Constitution, it was saying anybody is free to join. And I was saying, what's this kind of that preventing me? But you go to emergency manager, they will tell you, officers, emergency principal officer, they tell you, they are the first even to disorganize the workers from joining unions, from actually agitating for organized labor. And these are the challenges. So what we have done, as part of the enabling laws, fortunately, I'm a member of the Public Accounts Committee on local government. And including my colleague here, Ogwal, we are going to start stopping appropriating money to gender. Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development. Why? Because they don't have a consultative committee. And yet Ministry of Gender, Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Justice, Ministry of Local Government, these are the implementers of the Public Service Negotiating and Consultative Council. Machinery. Because now, why I'm saying this act has a number of things. Actually, what we are discussing here, the challenges we're having as government, stem from lack of a negotiation machinery. Because this machinery, one, when we form a consultative committee, these committees, one, look at issues of human resource. They look at issues of this dispute. They look at issues of policy. You find that now, I think when at cabinet, people have been misled to imagine you can actually downsize, you can do away with these issues without actually proper justification. All this must be done at the level of an organization. You find that now the fights are too many that compromise the issues of safety, health and safety and health, because there is no mechanism where people can demand for this. And of course, these are the issues that do the budget things. But you have this consultative committee, which is under the Public Service Negotiating, Consultative and Dispute Settlement Machinery Act. This is an act which was actually assented to by the president in 2015 and in place. But you find that even now, the other day I was asking government on one of the Thursdays, there is what we call Prime Minister's time. So I was asking, Right Honorable Prime Minister, this is an act. This is a mechanism which can resolve conflict, which can resolve disputes at workplace. So that means of labor, the labor officers, the industrial court, the civil courts do not have a lot of backlog arising out of this. This should be handled in a professional manner and in a cost-effective manner at the workplace. And the issue they are looking at, basically, there are two items, the negotiable and the consultative. Under the negotiable, they are looking at salaries and allowances. You find that salaries and allowances now occupy most of our work as Parliament, as Minister of Gender, as courts. This could be handled and addressed, and this can actually address issues of what? Issues of health and occupational safety. Hours of work. You find that it's in the country here where we don't have streamlined issues. How many hours is somebody entitled to work? But you find that you go to most of these industries, people are working 24/7. Now, how does this person? And you end up having
paid the same.
And the buzz out because you're ending up getting very many mad men as a result of overworking. So these are issues we must handle. When you talk of and this is very consultative committee should be mandated to handle the issues of health, safety at work. It's one of the key considerations, key parameters they handle, they address. Then all types of leave. But you find that there's discrimination even leave. Others are even denied maternity leave when it is actually a given, when it is actually a right of the people. So this must be addressed urgently. You find that
is it a right to all the people,
it's a right
or
to
some
all the
give and others are free not to
across
give?
the board? And you see that because of that kind of thing, you find that a wife has given delivery but doesn't know is entitled to paternity leave. You'll even be disciplined because of going for paternity leave. So I think these are issues we must address. Then issues of principles under which we should actually follow redundancy procedures. How do we make people redundant? But here we find that we are waking up at night. This institution must go. This one downsize. This one, no, that's not how we do. So as a matter of discussion and within the policy frameworks. Then medical expenses. In Uganda, it's very difficult to know what medical expenses the worker entitled to. How much sick pay is the person entitled to. And you find that that's why most employers are actually losing cases. Because they don't know these things. They are within the law, but they are not even bothered. You go to an institution, you go to local government, ask them whether they know, they have knowledge of all these laws, they don't know. And then they are operating.
Honorable.
Yes.
Is every worker entitled to the sick leave or sick pay?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Within the land, it's within the law.
Even when it is not stipulated in my contract? The
contract is just subordinate to the law. When you talk of the act, when you talk of the constitution, your contract is subordinate to the other take precedence. So you cannot tell me.
Even malaria.
Yes, all those are sicknesses. And of course, once it's diagnosed, once you have actually put the issue is incumbent upon the worker.
I believe after this program, many workers are running to court.
You must notify once you have notified the worker. This is a problem that must actually address within the laws. and the laws are very exhaustive and elaborate. So what we are saying, where there are inadequacies, maybe we can we can advise the minister to ensure that they come up with regulations to guide these processes. But we find that these are simple things that are not actually handled. Then there are issues of retirement and other retirement benefits. Very important.
Others are given, others are denied.
Not given. So why do you discriminate? Then, of course, we must look at any other matters of mutual agreement. Then the other one, on the consultative things, we are looking at disciplinary procedures. If you had
who qualifies to retire?
Of course, those are key issues within the Act, Employment Act. They are specified age.
Because we know retirement is only for the roaders and who work with the government. But for us who are in a private, you die in office if you still can work.
That's absolutely not proper. And of course, those are the health hazards we are talking about. So when we talk of consultative issues, which must be addressed by these committees, our disciplinary procedures, what's the welfare of people? Issues of training. You find that most of the what constitutes occupation and occupational hazards in terms of health and safety, lack of training. People are having their fingers cut off. People are being chopped by machines because of lack of training. These are issues. Then promotions. People are motivated. All these are issues that must be addressed by these committees. Technological advancements. We talk of policy issues, especially structural adjustment programs. So we are going to get a whip to address this. Recently, I think these issues that have appeared before PACA local government have been told to constitute these committees urgently. And I think as Minister of Gender, you must get interested in this.
We have many committees, but if you have been working and still workers are still suffering in silence.
That's the challenge.
Is it all about creating these committees?
That's the challenge, because I think as a result of that, we do not know how to address issues. You'll find that line ministries are passing the buck when actually knowing that it's supposed to be in such and such a ministry. If it is issues of ensuring that the committees are workable, there is the act specialists who are the people, and these are even part of the National Negotiating and Consultative Council. So this must be addressed. And then the other thing on issues of safety and health, some of them are visible and some of them are invisible. But the invisible aspects are on climate change. You find that climate change, and
others are psychological.
Yeah, psychological. All these must be addressed. You find that one, for example, if somebody has lost temper, and they advise that person to look at a green environment, this can restore the nature, the mood of a person. But you find that some of the workers are working in a very hostile environment.
By the time he turns, he's seeing sewage and that water, and
all these are not addressed. So I think that's this in my manifesto. When I was seeking to become an MP, I told people, look, there is a way you workers do not take the back acid, but you need to plant trees. But I said, why do we plant trees? For us, we're in air condition. No, you plant trees because when the climate change actually goes on, the greenhouse effect, the heat, all these are issues that actually promote safety and health. You do not know the exposure to the environment affects very much the workers. So we need really to engage them in planting trees. We need really to ensure that we have the mechanism to resolve disputes. And then the other thing is that we are not proactive in handling our matters. By the time we realize, it's actually too late. So we need to step up our resilience in handling matters of workers pertaining to safety.
Okay.
The other thing, we need partnerships. Who are the partners in helping us in these areas? These matters must be addressed. Then we need fast track for good practices. I've told you about a number of ILO conventions that address issues of safety, even issues of welfare. For example, Convention 155, it has been there since 1960. And Uganda ratified it, but do we really address it? Are issues of welfare addressed? Until we really buzz and move even up to the president. Okay. We do not address. And these matters can be. Then we need to explicitly implement the number of laws as they are available. Most of these laws are actually shelved. We have very good laws.
On paper,
shelved, but actually they're not applicable. And you find that when people go to court, that's
why is the problem?
The problem is, I think, we are not proactive. We not actually
the implementers,
the subjects, the technical people, and I think both, even the beneficiaries, the workers, we don't actually know. Until they come to a union, that's when they are told that, oh, this was your right. You're supposed to negotiate. You're supposed to negotiate this through a collective bargaining agreement. But how many institutions have collective bargaining agreements? How many institutions actually have a plan of planting trees to curtail the effects of climate change? Very few. So I think these are the issues that we need. And then, of course, before that, I want to say that one, as workers, let's have a partnership, such that as we are in parliament, they should tell us the gap in laws, such that maybe through amendments, through legislation.
Partner with our fellow workers,
the workers,
the unions.
Of course, we are not a standalone. The unions are available, organized labor, and of course, for us now they have a stake constitutionally to have representation in parliament. Okay. So they should really ensure that at least they tell us what are the gaps. Then step up vigilance. Then we can actually be able to move. When we do this, we shall be able. Because what I want to say, Uganda is one of the promising economies. But without focusing on the human resource, we are wasting time. We shall never achieve anything. I get aggrieved when I see people grumbling. They are grumbling where to do what? To get passports and go out. These are the energetic people. So this is modern slavery. Why can't we have...
Because there are no opportunities here.
Yes, why can't we have clear data? Because every day we are appropriating money for industries. Let's know how many can we absorb, such that at least we can actually direct people where they can go.
Oh no, that's where some of the Ugandans have concerns. The government has much interest in the investors, especially when they establish factories and industries here. But are you aware that our sons and daughters are suffering in silence in these factories because of lack of safety and healthy work environment?
Very much so. I think the perception has been calling everybody an investor. Even because I normally ask people, what do we need to have a value addition chain? You need just a suspect to fry maize and add to it. But all this, people coming from abroad to come and actually fry even maize, roast the nuts. And later, I think you can see the hustle.
I've seen some of the investors selling chargers and headphones.
You can imagine. I think this is ill-conceived. Because I think under the party development model, it's a good arrangement. Let them focus on, let the government focus on having what? The house, the production unit.
Okay.
Like now, I'm on, before
in seconds.
You shift in seconds. Why are the prices escalating? Because we are producing.
I was about to ask you as a member of parliament.
We don't produce. We are consuming what we don't produce. You can actually manufacture above soap in your house. But why do you cry that the bar above soap is 10,000? Soap
is manufactured here in Uganda, but the bar is going up.
I want it at the family household level. Even sugar can be produced at household level. We can even. Why do you sell your maize at 100? When you go to the supermarket and you find it's packaged and 250 grams are being sold at 5,000. I think these are the issues we need to address. Now, what are the issues? The Minister of Gender has been involved in a mindset change. But I think what I want you to address now, issues of health and safety under the party development model. Because this is going to be one of the biggest programs that we are going to have in the country.
Okay.
Right from the parish level. How many parishes do we have? So issues of occupational safety and health must be addressed in this. I think these are the key issues I need to look at. They look very silent but very key.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Rhoda, I believe that the head of or our brains or someone's head is the focal point or the guiding element of every individual. That means if we are perturbed psychologically, we cannot effectively do our work. How can we create an environment of psychological safety and trust our workplace, where employees are comfortable being themselves? They know they can express themselves freely without fear of embarrassment. Is it possible to have that kind of environment, Rhoda?
That is very possible, Amon. One is, the challenge here is that the management, the implementing authorities, have tried to suffocate the voice of the workers. In this case, we have realized from the previous discussions that workplaces need committees, which committees should be able to listen to both sides. There should be information flow coming from top to bottom, at the same time from bottom upwards. look at a scenario where an institution is setting up an office space. We are looking at the physical environment. We are looking at the floors. We are looking at the walkways. We are looking at the ventilation. And then an organization just put something like that put up a structure without ventilation, slippery floors, and then there is no provision for people to raise issues. I mean, that is where we are saying that organizations should not suffocate. This is done by mostly the private sector, whereby they are looking at maximizing the profits. But with government, at least I know that there is minimal provision of at least some working environment. The office space is a bit spacious, but in the private sector, they squeeze the spaces to really maximize the profits. So without a committee that can listen to these complaints, it's very difficult. But this is possible if, like this talk show today, the listeners out there are hearing that the employees who suffer the consequences of poor physical environment, working conditions, have a right to speak up. They have a right to challenge management. They have a right to speak up and say, I'm not going to sit in that office, there is not enough light. I'm not going to sit on this chair, it does not provide my back to be straight.
When you are a worker.
Yes, we are supposed to raise this up. But we've talked about mindset. People think that when you speak against your employer, you are supposed to be sacked. No. You make your employer get used to you keeping quiet. But when you speak every other day, he will realize that, oh, I'm dealing with a person who knows what he wants. We must be assertive. If the employees are assertive...
Isn't this going to affect my relationship with my boss?
Well, in the beginning it will affect your relationship.
But when you have spoken the truth.
And as time goes
on... I'm risking my job.
Yeah, you risk the job in the first case, but at certain times, I mean, the beauty about public sector is that they don't chase you in the morning. You don't commit a crime in the morning and they chase you in the afternoon.
There's a procedure.
There is a procedure. So, but which is not there in the private sector. But we're encouraging employees, even in the private sector, let them speak a voice. There is always somebody who will hear it and will come to your rescue. I'm happy that the inspector is here. This is what they do. They also face that challenge when they go to the private sector. Some of them are denied access to these factories. Some of them, they are met with envelopes on their way at the entrance. And they will tell you, you check that envelope as you enter inside. By the time
they arrange workers to give testimonies on behalf of the others.
I mean, all this. And the biggest challenge the employers here present is that the employees are not assertive. Also, we have the question of qualifications. Government is struggling to tell people to embrace hands-on courses. You will find that you have a son, you have a daughter who has no qualification, even one. Cannot even just repair a broken chair, but he needs to work. So an employer who takes such a person will definitely that person will be at the mercy of the employer. So I would also encourage our children as parents.
Someone will say, do you want my child to be unemployed when I have the capacity to connect her somewhere?
It is okay. Connecting someone is okay. But also let's prepare our children to be able to do something at least. Are you aware that some children don't even know how to wash plates?
True.
I mean, so some of these challenges we are facing, it is also a mindset, and it is the way we have perceived ourselves. So it goes far beyond the workplace only. Dr. Katonda is talking about planting trees. Incidentally, I work with Uganda National Meteorological Authority. We give information about weather and climate, and we give, in partnership with the stakeholders, we give advisories. But when you're giving information, people want to look at the negative side of it. Before even you analyzing what has been presented, people begin to give a negative side of it. So it is individual perspectives that is affecting us. When we embrace work, we must embrace work knowing that it is a give and take action. You are providing labor, which labor should be paid. But as you provide labor, you should be safe. Because when you are not healthy, you cannot work. If I am blinded now, will I be able to walk? Will the employer provide a guide for me?
No, you go home.
Of course, that is what we need to avoid, going home before you finish, before you reach your retirement age, before you reach that time when you should go home. So these are the things that we are looking at. This is what we are saying, that we are encouraging all stakeholders. Dr. Katonda has properly, clearly and ably given us the guidelines. He has told us what Parliament is doing. He has even told us where we are failing. The implementation. The implementation. I want to echo out to the employees that the laws are there. The committees are supposed to be formed. You know, employers are looking at maximizing their profits. So if there is an opportunity for where the employees keep quiet and he doesn't put a budget on that item, the employer is okay. But you, the employee, is the one who is tortured psychologically, physically, and environmentally. So we need to work as a team.
Okay.
We need to really work as a team. The inspector here should help these organizations to make sure that the committees are there. And once the committees are formed, let the members of the staff, the workers, be part of the committee. What affects the performance of the committee is sometimes we put management leaders only, and it stops there. So, and once the managers are comfortable, there's no need to go beyond that. But if there is somebody coming down from down, and Dr. Katonda has talked about training, we are in a dynamic society. We are using smartphones. We are here using microphones, and we are able to speak to the outside world. But how do you bring an employee and you don't even show him how to use the gadget?
And you expect to effectively work.
Exactly. So you'll find that even these earphones we are using, they affect our ears and affects the head. So how long should you keep somebody on the earphones? And how long should you keep somebody on these gadgets here? Because this is radiation. So after that, an employee getting out of a room like this should be able maybe to take a cup of milk, or take a bottle of water or a fruit to rejuvenate his health.
I heard that in some industries, to operate such machines, you are supposed to be taking a lot of milk and juices.
Very true.
That is very true.
But how many factories in Uganda that provide milk for the workers?
But even the workers themselves have failed to know that they need it. They're the ones to demand. When you take a cow to graze, when it is thirsty, it cries. Why don't workers cry out like the cows?
Because they're fearing to be fired.
But even if what is the point of being kept in an organization and then you walk out a disabled person?
The employer will tell you, if you cannot work here, then see us as not your employers. We're having so many that applied for the same opportunity.
It is better to walk out when you're still able, other than waiting to be disabled and you walk out, you crawl out.
Until when am I going to keep walking away from the jobs?
Unless you speak, you will be kept in that situation.
Okay.
The voices must come up.
All right. UBC, we are live on 98 FM, UBC Radio, and also live on Clean Sister radio stations, UBC Butebo, UBC Western Nile FM, and Magic One on 100 FM. Before we go for a short break, I would love to engage Robert Kano. Of recent past, we lost health workers while on duty during COVID-19 pandemic. And guess what? Most of the nurses and doctors were complaining of lack of personal protective equipment or gears. Do you think we can blame it more on government? Or it was it would be more of negligence that you had to protect yourselves first?
Thank you, Brother Hammond. That time was a bad time, and it was a serious time. And when I hear that question posed to me. It is indeed true that health workers, most of them died because of inadequate provision of safety protective gears for them. It's not true that themselves was a negligence, but it's a government duty to protect those people while they are executing that kind of work, because COVID-19, it claimed a number of people, including the big people in the government. That's when they can realize that these people are the health workers. When they complained, government came up with some measures to protect them, and they were saved. It's not their negligence, but it was a system which had failed to understand what could be done to these people who are on the front line.
Shall we keep losing people and then we learn?
No, we can't. We can't keep people dying, seeing them dying when we are looking at. But we need to complain, and they complained. Truly, they complained, and that's when the government came up. And you saw even the medical team. They wrote a memorandum to government, how they are suffering and how they are affected during that time of COVID-19.
Okay. Yeah. Ogwal.
Yes, please.
Many employees have sustained injuries while on duty. Others have died. They have not been compensated. They have not been given attention. Only they have to say is sorry. How have you helped such individuals and such families as the ministry?
Yeah, thank you very much, moderator. But before I respond to that, I would want to go back to what Honorable Member of Parliament has stated about the consultative committee about the appropriation of funds to Ministry of Gender. When before we reach that stage, I believe appropriate communication should come so that because this is to be implemented by our PS, and I believe my commissioner is listening. From here, I'm going to brief him about what has happened.
But before even you continue, in the council, you are represented by a commissioner on the council, whereby I think it is the negligence of the ministry to undermine it.
Actually, for 10 years now.
Yeah, we have been together, and I'm the
10 years.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm still taking
that council.
Yeah, I'm still taking it back
time.
so that we have this committee in place, because
I hope it's not going to take more 10 years.
I believe so.
Hey.
Yeah, because you see what I was presenting as an essential. Yeah, management organization must be willing to support in this case.
Okay.
Yeah. The issues of workers getting injured during the course of delivery of service, sometimes even losing life, it is there. And we cannot run away from it. When we focus on our attention of last year's theme when we were organizing the World Day for Safety and Health, it was about surveillance. Resilience, because we wanted to establish the data. We want to know. We want to engage employers to record these incidences in a workplace, because once it is recorded, we know that this particular workplace had this number of injuries, had this number of fatalities. So what could be the cause? Then we start investigating. This comes as a result of data and surveillance system. Once it is there, because sometimes these workers, as has been stated here, they walk away when somebody is injured without knowing their rights. So it is very difficult. He keeps complaining to whoever he has met in a meeting, but without following proper procedures. If proper procedures has been followed, these workers, I believe, with the workers' union, with the ministry, these people will be compensated or issues of their compensation is addressed. We at the ministry have seen people coming for arbitration. Those ones who have followed the processes, yeah, there is a committee, there is a medical arbitration, they sit to review some of these concerns that have come to the ministry. But once it has not come to the ministry, nobody will help you. You will keep moving on the street, meeting this and talking about this.
All right.
But it will remain a complaint, a genuine complaint and a genuine concern without a proper channel of addressing them. So
All right.
I urge workers to understand their rights, to understand the steps, and I give the steps. If you are injured in a workplace, even if you must report to your supervisors, then also it goes to the labor officers. We have labor officers in all the districts.
Okay.
That is the first step
But-
before you reach the
But
ministry.
before you come, Amon comes in, the labor officers are the most troubled guys who create all those problems in these industries. When I went to Yogi in Njeru and Paramuka, I realized that the labor officer was is part of the payroll. And in fact, I harassed him before the public, before the workers. And the information I got from there, that was 2019, the labor officer, the police post, OC station of that area where that factory is located, it was also part of the payroll. Now, when the worker gets saved, the worker has no right. They just block that worker when he has lost
put on payroll by the factory.
Yeah, by the factory to compromise. And when these people come from the Ministry of Gender, they also compromised with envelopes.
That is the envelope Mr. Roda was telling us
Envelopes
about.
not even to reach. Even when I entered, what I did before I accessed, I had to block the entrance, the gate, until they had to open. When they called Ginger DPC, where, but I refused to leave the gate until they allowed me to enter. But there is a place where we one of the discussants mentioned that there are places where the employer must provide milk, must provide water, must provide enough allowance for those people.
Did you find milk there?
Nothing. They're not given. That's why they were complaining. And I made sure the meeting of those people, it was at mayor's and mayor's office. It was a public one, but the challenge we have, training, mindset, and negativity about important issues at the workplace.
All right. Ogwal,
Yes.
you are finishing up your point?
Yes, I'm finishing. You interjected. Yeah, these are concerns. But when when I was explaining about the essentials, I was talking about this issue of training and all this, but also this issue of self-discipline and personal accountabilities. Now, like a labor officer, you're employed to protect the workers and their rights, the workers' rights. Now, why do you allow to be compromised to that extent when somebody has already lost a limb and you are seeing this is self-indiscipline? So these labor officers, they are not there in isolation. They are subordinates to some people.
Okay.
So I think procedures also must be taken to report these labor officers to the district. Right now they're employed by the district, but understand there is a way they are working out to maybe try to recentralize them so that they become part of the ministry and they are accountable to the ministry. Right now they are accountable to the district, and we can report them and take the issue head on, because this is indiscipline of the highest order. Thank you.
All right. Our dear listener, you will join the conversation on 776-511-426, and you tell us what you meet or what you see at your workplace. We're going for a very short break, and when we return, we're getting the calls, and then tell us what you think needs to be done in Uganda. Sustaining a safe and healthy work environment culture in Uganda is our topic today, and Ground Zero takes a very short break. We are returning back in a bit. I pray don't go away.
This is Ground Zero Season 2. Stay tuned. We shall be right back.
Oh, you've given your in-laws and co-wife something to think about for years. Eh? You've given them a piece of your mind.
They are joking. How can they say that if I'm to get any property of my late husband, they will just be helping me?
But if you continue misbehaving, you will totally get nothing. Eh?
Hey, they are dreaming. Daydreaming. I have been with my husband for 15 years. I have 3 children, and we even did DNA before he died.
You know?
Let us go to Uncle. They will see fire. We left them laughing. When we come back with Uncle, we shall leave them crying.
If not begging you.
Uncle is not a job.
Yeah.
He will take over full control and even chair the distribution meeting. Eh? Hey.
But your co-wife was very silent, just looking at you.
She knows me.
Yeah.
During the burial, I pushed her and she fell down. She didn't want me to make a speech. I had Uncle's bodyguards guarding me. Let us bring Uncle. Uncle, that is the situation. All those years. How can they say that I don't qualify to inherit anything from my husband's estate?
You did not wed in church or mosque, did you?
No.
Did you perform the traditional or customary introduction ceremony, or you went to the registrar?
No, Uncle. None of those. But we've been together for 15 years and everybody knows me. Actually, his friends know me more than his legally wedded wife. I used to go out with him more than her.
You stand no chance. Cohabiting does not qualify you to inherit from your husband's estate. Just be nice to your in-laws so that they can give you something just out of kindness. But I know your father-in-law. I'm going to call him. You go back. I'm sure he will listen to you.
Uncle, we are not going back with you.
No, it's not necessary. A phone call will do. But if they don't give your 3 children their share, tell me. They are all entitled, like those of your co-wife.
I cannot believe it's you who was here an hour ago.
Sir, have you talked to my uncle?
Yes, I've met him before.
Thank you. I'm sorry for what I stupidly said.
Welcome back. Ground Zero Season 2 continues.
Welcome back from that very short break. This is UBC Ground Zero. We're broadcasting live on 98 FM, UBC Radio. We're also live on clear sister radio stations, UBC Butebo, UBC West Nile FM, and Magic 1 on 100 FM. We are looking at how best we can sustain a safe and healthy work environment culture in Uganda. In the studios, it is a very big privilege to have Dr. Honorable Byakatonda Abdul, who is the Workers' Member of Parliament. We have Mr. Robert Keno, is the General Secretary of Uganda Scientists and Researchers and Allied Workers Union. Ms. Atim Roda is Public Sector Employee, and Mr. Gwal Alex is the Principal General Secretary Inspector from the Department of Occupational Safety and Health from the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development. It is your right time to call on 776-511-426 and share your opinions on what you think needs to be done in Uganda to ensure that we work effectively and while protecting and safeguarding our lives. They said it is safety first. UBC
Yes, Ampaire.
live.
In the street.
Your concern, please.
Yeah, this is Joma from Busega.
Your concern.
My concern number 1, let me first congratulate Member of Parliament who fought hard and NSSF beneficiaries. Some part of them have got some part of their pay.
All right.
Congratulations for that. Number 2, Workers' Union. Today Juma is in Kampala. I feel like to know where the headquarters of Workers' Union, because the challenges we are facing so much, and the process within up-country so much.
Okay.
Corruption is in the leading bench. No one can engage the worker in a humanitarian ground. People have no humanity.
Okay.
And you find that these workers, they are getting into much challenges. Then first aid kits, first aid boxes within the factories, they are empty. And some of the Panadols in those kits, they are expired medicine.
Okay.
So who is to report that? You know?
Thank you.
Ambulances at the big factories. Ambulance, standby ambulance. Yes, machine are chopping people's arms. People are getting accidents day and night while they are from work or from work to home. But again, compensation process also too wide. It needs also you to start releasing money or go to the other office to go. So with the help of workers' union, let them help us to minimize this all other steps.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you, Juma.
Much anyway.
Our time is fast spent, Juma. All right. We pray that next time we get some good time to discuss these issues. UBC.
Yes, hello, very good morning.
A very good morning to you. Your name and where you're calling us from?
This is Flavia calling in from Naguru.
Glad to have you here, Flavia.
A pleasure is mine.
Your concern?
I'm really so grateful. I thank you so much for this vital topic. I don't want to say much because the time is against us. My humble request is just that they should take this to all the sectors. I know when things happen like that, it's only government workers who benefit a lot, but when you go to these non-government companies, there's really a lot of suffering. Just like, let me even bring in the house helpers. Working times are really abnormal. Someone goes to work when he's having a cannula in the hands, moving with drugs in a bag like a moving pharmacy. So it's really so sad. I don't know how best these people are going to do it to make sure that everyone gets the equal rate in this country. Thank you.
Most welcome, Flavian. Greetings to the people of Nagulu.
Thank you. They've heard you.
UBC live on 98 FM, UBC Radio. Live and clear on UBC.
Hello, thank you, UBC.
Your name and where are you calling us from?
Shaban calling right away from Lira.
Shaban Lira? All right.
Yes,
your concern, please.
I have one concern, and I remember in 2020, we were, in fact, stolen from one of the companies in bread making up country this way. And we were taken in Kampala in one of the companies in Natete, Chinawa. But the challenges that we got there, it was about the language problem and the tribalism which was there too much, especially with the senior staff that we got them there. Started working against us, not until they decided to chase us out of the company. So the problem that is in Kampala there generally, when you are new, when you are in a country, you go and work there, they want you to speak Uganda forcefully, to speak English. When you speak English, becomes a problem to the company.
Right.
So that was a very big company, and we chased us out of the company. Uganda, get to experience
network.
On the
Shaban?
All
right.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Greetings to the people of Leader. Live and clear on UBC.
Hello.
Your name and where you're calling us from?
Good morning, Mr. Presenter.
A very good morning to you.
This is Dr. Juma calling from Kumi.
Dr. Juma from Kumi.
Yes, please.
Your concern, please.
Thank you very much for the program.
Most welcome.
Yeah, actually, I was of a view that
Juma? Juma, you can call us again on 776-511-426. UBC.
Hello, UBC, good morning.
A very good morning to you.
Yes, fine. This is Shababu Geoffrey from Namanze.
Geoffrey, your concern, please.
Yes, please. My concern goes to Ogwali.
Yes, Ogwal Alex.
Yeah, yes, please. I want to inquire whether the workers' union has that as a key for especially this factory, whether work being provided.
Come again.
First aid, like when they get like injuries, they're supposed to be having clinics, they're supposed to be having those equipment all on the work. I don't know whether the workers' union has that team
Okay. He's listening. UBC.
UBC, good morning.
A very good morning to you. Your name and where you're calling us from?
I'm called Alibu Michael, calling from Ginger.
Yes, Michael, how is Ginger?
Ginger is fine.
Your concern, please.
I found a problem with one of the factories in Mukono. My daughter was working there. But a dog of a company bite that girl badly. But when I tried to follow, the company people barred me from entering. They refused. I reported the matter to police, but it also remained like that.
Okay.
I don't know where I can go.
All right.
So that this company people really, yes.
Okay. Your concern is going to be addressed, and this is the reason for UBC Ground Zero. UBC?
Hello, good morning.
A very good morning to you.
My name is Francis Odong.
Francis Odong from where?
From Commissioner of Occupational Health.
Come again. Francis Odong from?
I work for the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development as Assistant Commissioner of Occupational Health.
Okay.
My colleague Ogwal is in the studio.
All right. We are glad that you are listening.
I'm also the caretaker head of department for occupational safety and health. I'm very glad to join you in this discussion today.
All right.
First of all, I thank the panelists and the moderator.
All right.
I'm glad that you mentioned that OSH is a shared responsibility. We should stop lamenting and join hands.
All right.
And the national theme this year, which we decided to adopt as our national theme, act together to build a positive safety and health culture.
Are you comfortable on how best you are serving the people of Uganda, or you think there is something missing as a commissioner?
For us, we think that is very correct because we cannot do issues of safety and health single-handedly. And hence, we decided to adopt that theme for ourselves as well. Mr. Keno mentioned that the institution we should support workers' rights, and we're very surprised that to hear that some of our key stakeholders who should be helping us support the workers' rights are compromised.
Are you aware that people of Uganda are dying in your hands and you're occupying offices, and people think there is nothing you're doing to help them out?
Just a little. I want to say that we've witnessed this kind of action ourselves, and if you remember, parliamentarians were one time stopped from accessing certain workplaces. We are currently reviewing the OSH Act, which is our overarching act for the safety and health subsector, to give more deterrent measures for such employers who do not cooperate. Lastly, for the sake of time, let's put our efforts together and create awareness to all workers.
All right. You said you are the commissioner from the Ministry of Gender?
Sorry?
You said you are the commissioner, right?
Yes, please, I am.
All right. It was a very big privilege having you, Mr. Francis Odong.
Thank you.
Okay. 98 FM, UBC Radio, live and clear.
Yes.
Your name, please?
I'm Mr. Agena Vincent, calling from Dokolo.
Your name, Francis? Vincent?
Agena Vincent.
Okay. Your concern, please?
Yes, I'm Mr. Agena Vincent.
Yes. You're from?
From Dokolo.
Yes, from Dokolo. Your concern, please?
My concern is what is causing all these problems sometimes is all about mindset. Mindset and attitude.
Okay.
You'll find that in most cases in both public and then private sectors, those who are above or the superior officers, they think the officers they are handling, the junior officers should bow down before them. Even if there are problems, you should not raise. When you raise up your voice, then they begin threatening you. And I think all this has come as a result of even the government. I'm sorry to mention, but sometimes they are copying up from the government. Because you see, one time the teachers were thinking that their working conditions were not okay, and they were demanding for the increment in salary. And then the overall president said the government is ready to hire teachers from outside to come and teach.
Okay.
And this is a wrong signal. And what about if the president of the country can rise and mention such in the public? What about the private sectors now? They will definitely look at the junior officers as slaves.
Mm.
And also those who are also working, they should also have that it should change the way they should know they have their rights also. They should be able to voice up their problems with fear or favor.
Thank you, Vincent.
Yeah, thank you so much.
All right.
Good.
98 FM UBC Radio. We can go back to the studios. You're going to get more of your calls in a few seconds. If I can get the last one. UBC.
Hello.
You reduce your radio.
This is Teddy. I'm calling from Bugolovi.
Your name again?
This is Teddy. I'm calling from Bugolovi.
Yes, please. Your concern.
My concern is most of these companies take us like we are not human beings. Because why I'm saying so, you work for many hours, then they pay you less money. You try complaining like this, they tell you that we have people to work if you don't want to work. Now, like that kind of issue, what are, like those people in the studio, what are they doing to help us? You study, you do your courses, you don't get a job for it. Then you say that let me first go in this company.
All right.
Like security companies. We are working for sure for people. No food, no water. You work there like a dog. That is my concern. Let them help us.
Thank you, Teddy.
Thank you very much.
All right. How best can we sustain a safe and healthy work environment culture in Uganda? Allow me go to the studios and we shall get perhaps your calls later on in a few minutes. I believe this is a serious concern that we need to give our attention on. Juma says, no first aid in these factories. Corruption is always high. Flavia Naguru says you can even work with a cannula. Shaban in leader, tribalism and language barrier at workplace. Dr. Juma, you can call us again. Godfrey from Namave said they don't have clinics in such factories and it's a big concern. Michael from Ginger has a concern with a dog bite at a workplace where his daughter was working from, and how best can he be helped. Francis Odong is a commissioner and says we can not keep blaming the government, but we need to join hands. Vincent from Dokoro, mindset change. If the government can keep on threatening to import the labor force, where does this leave the private sector? Teddy has a concern that they work for long hours but get paid less. Starting with Honorable Yakatonda.
I think most of these things arise out of inadequacies in operations by the labor officers. Labor officers are supposed to visit all workplaces at any time, but I think that has not been their preoccupation.
When they are given a payroll, they are put on payroll.
Yeah, so what you are going to do is basically to ensure that these labor officers revert to Ministry of Gender for clear supervision and because there's uncoordinated movement of troops.
Okay.
They have gone there and I think they are subordinate to the cows. The effect that they are not effective. The other thing is that I think Ministry of Gender, I want to urge you to ensure that you have an advisory board, labor advisory board. Without the labor advisory board, it means all cases will go to the drain since there is nobody to make awards. I think this one will help me. If you fail at your level, can bring it as a petition so that we handle.
All right.
The other thing is we want to urge for open dialogue between the government, workers, and employing organizations. I think that's very important. Then the other one, I think we should move a motion very urgently to ensure that any ministry, any government agency, any local government without a consultative committee should not receive appropriation of money, because these are actually curtailing service delivery, as people are already fighting even at the lowest level. The other thing,
I think we shall be glad if you take on that motion.
I'm going to do it. The other thing is competence profiling. In Uganda, you find the people who are CEOs are supposed to be officers. Those who are supposed to be CEOs are officers. I think we need to do competence profiling in order to ensure that the workforce and the service delivery improves.
Okay.
The other one is Intuit and Clicks. You go to our ministries and agencies. Clicks, who is eating what? The eating click is different. The others are different. This is a very big challenge, and it has actually curtailed the service delivery in the country.
Okay.
And then the other one, I think there is nobody perceived you purport to be an employer without a collective bargaining agreement. Where do you really negotiate? How do you get guidance? I think Minister of Gender should take on this urgently.
Okay.
And ensure that we have collective bargaining.
Thank you.
Then the other one, on issues of discrimination, I think that's unfortunate, and it must be addressed. Then Juma, about NSSF midterm access, I think it is very important. We achieved it and we tried our best as a representative to have it, and government gave you, the president assented. But what I want to add is that don't treat it as a rotary. Make sure you put this money to full use so that we become investors in the country.
All right.
Thank you.
Rhoda, our first time is first spent in some seconds.
I think Doctor has ably explained the concerns. I just want to add something to somebody who asked for where the location of the trade union leaders in offices in Kampala. I'm proud to direct you that the National Organization of Trade Unions in Uganda supervises all the unions in this country, and it's located in Chaliwajala Namugongo Road next to Lifelink Hospital. Just after Lifelink Hospital, you turn your left, you climb up. It's about 20 meters there. It can be identified. And that is where the National Organization of Trade Unions sits, and you can register complaints there, and we shall be able to follow up on them.
All right.
I also want to add my voice to Honorable that we need to work as a team.
Okay.
Yes, the workers
Robert?
should always raise up these issues because they are the ones affected. If they keep quiet, we cannot know them.
Robert Keno?
Thank you.
I want to add voice to my colleague. Mine is about to respond to Juma, who said about corruption. Indeed, this is a very bad practice in our working environment, whereby our people are suffering because of corruption. And we need to also, the Commissioner, that we are going to join hands. This is now 2022, whereby we need to join hands since we have now the inspector here.
Okay.
So that we move together. Then the last one, COF2 is located in Ntinda. That's is also a National Labour Center. The second National Labour Center, because we have COF2 and NOTU and COF2.
Okay.
COF2 is located, if you have ever gone to Ntinda after this UNEB, there is a hotel called Minister's Village. It is just adjacent to that place. Thank you.
Thank you.
Before the principal comes,
Okay.
I want to add that one, we have secured transport. I've given 2 double cabins, so workers should be able to call centers so that they reach them and handle grievances.
You have given them 2 double cabins.
2 double cabins donated and fully functional. One of them has challenges, but I think we have enough vehicles.
Can we request for the number in case we want to?
I think Mr. Keno 07, you let him read the number.
Keno 0752 425 794. MTN, same line, but the code 0776.
Okay, we shall come back to that. Well, how can we help Mike, who has a daughter, dog bite at the workplace? He was blocked.
The people who called, there were 8, 9, but one did not go through. All these concerns are genuine, but the only problem is these complaints, if you start following them, you might find it is there, but it is not properly reported, it is not properly documented, then eventually addressing it has become a challenge. That is now why people take the opportunity to go to the media and all this, so that they hear their views, that maybe they can be listened to. But all in all, these are the things that is happening. What I want to add, in addition to that, there are people who would have requested. We have a minimum requirement for a factory or an industry or a workplace. So these minimum requirements, the issue of medical is addressed heavily, where it starts with the first aid from sections. Then it comes to a clinic if it is a bigger within the facility. Then the referral mechanism to the nearest hospital to address the issues of injuries in these workplaces. So this issue of first aid and all this should not be an issue. When we carry out inspection, we try to follow up on the issue of these requirements because we have indicators. Then I think what we need to do, as stated by the panelists here, is that we need to work together. We should not leave anybody outside as per the theme. We need to act together so that this culture of safety and health is built at the workplace. Management of workplaces should work together with the trade unions, with the government in the private sector, and government should work together with the private sector to make sure that we protect our workers. Thank you very much.
Most welcome. Let me get one last caller to end our program from the other side of the listeners. UBC? UBC?
This is Francis again, the Commissioner.
Good to have you again, Commissioner.
I'd just like you to kindly give Mr. Wall a minute to highlight to the public what our plans are for the commemoration of the World Day for Safety and Health 2022 is.
In seconds.
Okay.
Okay. That was the Commissioner from the Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development, Francis Odong. We are coming to the end of this edition of Ground Zero. Our time is fast spent and we may not go beyond this. We have so many callers, but time could not allow us to have all these complaints raised to be addressed by our panelists and are the leaders of the workers. We believe that the management perhaps will look into this and provide us with another opportunity to discuss all these issues. I'm giving you just seconds to give your last comments on this, starting with Rhoda. They always say ladies first. I don't know why. Rhoda?
You are giving me the request.
Thank you very much.
Yes, you're going to come last as you make that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ogwal.
Mine is an encouragement to all people, all employees, all managers to play their role.
Okay.
One request is that the president has always the prerogative to ask for certain favors. Because I see the issue of first aid. Sometimes these first aid boxes don't have the drugs. If we can find a way of having direct procurement for these drugs, because sometimes they run out and we have to wait for the procurement processes, maybe the suppliers and the like. And then also encourage Ministry of Health, make a liaison between Ministry of Health and the organization, because sometimes they do some supplies directly. So if that one can be addressed, it would help us to replenish the first aid kit. And then, of course, the ambulances, their repairs, and the cost is a major complaint, and how to attend to injuries at workplaces.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Robert Keno.
Mine is all the listeners to participate, and those who have been participating and those who have been listening, that let's follow the theme. We act together to build a safety, a positive safety and a healthy culture.
Okay. Honorable Yakatonda.
I think I want to leave time for Gwal, but what I want to say, we must have a checklist of performance. Parliament is going to bite. If you cannot perform, let us know. And of course, we are going to move motions and petitions and ensure that we want 360 performance degrees. I think when I say that, Ogwal knows. For short of that, tell us people must retire. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Amon, and the panelists for all this. Time has gone, but we have a series of activities I will highlight some few that is taking place to usher in the World Day for Safety. Right tomorrow, we shall have a health run, which is starting from the Ministry headquarters, and we move around and we end up in the Ministry headquarters. It is starting at 6, and by 10, we believe it will be done. But I urge members to join us, because you may have an opportunity to get educated in 1, 2, or 3 things. Then on Monday, we shall have a sanitation drive, which will take place in Nakawa Market. I urge people who want to join us, please, after here, you can get in touch with me, or you get in touch with the ministry. Then we will, or you join us that very Monday, and we do this work together, because we cannot do it alone. On Tuesday, we shall have a symposium. This symposium will be online, and the link, you can get it also when you communicate, and we so that you join us, and the discussion will be still fruitful on that day, starting from 10 up to around midday, but we wanted to make it short. On Wednesday, the minister will make a press statement at the media center, which will be aired out, which will come in the papers and all this. Then we also a team doing workplace inspection, which is tripartite, and will be in Entebbe Airport. That is where we will be having our workplace inspection. Then finally on 28th, from 8 up to midday, we will be at the Uganda Manufacturers Association ground for the D-Day. So I urge people to turn up. If you are not able to go through asking your question, you can come in there. We'll have the workers' representative giving their statements. We have the employers, and many others will give statements. From there, you will have time to interact with quite a number of people, even quite a number of inspectors. You will interact with them on that day. Okay. Then finally, on 1st, we will have the Labor Day.
On Sunday.
On Sunday. So I urge people also to turn up. I know the national celebration will be in Kololo, but you can still follow the matters. Thank you very much. Have a blessed day, and thank you very much for the panelists for turning up and supporting the ministry. Let's work together to make our place a better place. Safe for us all and healthy for us, and we be productive in whatever we do.
All right.
Thank you.
Most welcome. This is 98 FM UBC Radio. We've been broadcasting live on 98 FM UBC Radio, 90 on Butebo and West Nile FM, and also on Magic 100 FM. We're also live on YouTube. You just enter UBC Ground Zero in case you want to follow this very program, and the repeat of this very program is always on Sunday at 3 p.m. We've been discussing on how best we can sustain a safe and healthy work environment culture in Uganda. We had Dr. Honorable Biakatonda Abdul, Workers Member of Parliament. Mr. Ogwal Alex is the Principal General Safety Inspector, Department of Occupational Safety Health from the Ministry of Labor, of Gender, Labor and Social Development. We also had Mr. Robert Keno is the General Secretary of Uganda Scientists and Researchers and Allied Workers Union. Also, we had Ms. Atim Roda, Public Sector Employee. It has been a very big privilege having you, ladies and gentlemen, and also our dear listener, and all those that called us: Juma, Fravia, Shaban, Juma, and Godfrey, Michael, Francis Odong, Vincent, and Teddy. All from us wish you all the best, and for God and my country, Amon Obtega, I sign out.
That was Ground Zero Season 2, a production of Uganda Broadcasting Corporation, UBC, inspiring Uganda.
my Valentine. Yeah, now you the make you what temperature there is. If you leave me a good time, I swear. You are like the oxygen I need to survive. I'll be honest. Love it, the thought of me. I am so obsessed. I want to chop your heart. Never did it back at this year. Open up, make us feel love. Yeah, my love, one thing. Me make a bad man sing. sunshine, oh baby, you're my sunshine, so I stay to catch it cold. You do me like I never fall in love, make me feel like the first time, yeah. A dangerous love affair. I'm gambling on my heart. I fit the love it I am. Are you really the one? No go come tire for me. Make it no go turn yawa for me, yeah. I fit the love it I am. Are you really the one? No go come tire for me. Make it no go turn yawa for me, yeah. Vibe. Every time I see you, my body they sorrow, even in a different time. Oh, 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 I'm deep in love with you. I'm deep in love with you. Oh, I'm deep in love with you. Yeah. I'm deep in love with you. I'm deep in love with you. Oh, I'm deep in love with you. I fit the love it I am. Are you really the one? No go come tire for me. Make it no go turn yawa for me. I fit the love it I am. Are you really the one? No go come tire for me. Make it no go turn yawa for me.
This is Independent Sound.
UBC has 11 sister radio stations spread throughout the country to educate, inform, and entertain. Tune in to UBC Radio FM 98, your national radio station, Magic 100, where sports and music is our life. 87.5 Star FM in Uganda, 97.4 UBC West covering Western Uganda, 102 Mega FM in Gulu, 97 FM Butebo Radio in Eastern Uganda, 107.0 Buduri FM, 100.5 Ngea FM in Kasese, 98.0 West Nile FM in Arua, Totore Radio FM 90 in Karamoja, and 93.0 Voice of Mundbujo. Now you covered in your local language.
UBC Radios, inspiring Uganda. Take a walk of literature in the Journey program, a memorable walk of life into creative writing, arts, fiction, and non-fiction every Saturday from 12 to 1 p.m. only on UBC Radio. From Julius Ochwinyo to Susan Chiguri to Jack Mapanje, join us on the journey as we take you into the lives of various writers in the world of literature. The Journey on UBC Radio. Literature Review is rooted in the past, resounds in the present, and moves us into the future. The Journey on UBC Radio.
Yes, indeed. A very good afternoon, dear listener. Welcome to the Journey program, your program that is dedicated to the world of literature here on the national broadcaster, that is UBC Radio, with me, Ngobi George, who is just welcoming you from Ground Zero program, an interactive program that really touches on issues of national importance. Okay, it's Journey, and we're going to talk literature. And this time, now that most of the your students at home are successfully completing your after a lull of 2 years, without physical classes. So now that you're at home, it's better that we look at something we've taken a while without discussing. This time you're going to do poetry. Poetry is quite an exciting genre of literature because poetry takes the skill. The other time my little boy wrote me a poem. It was quite an interesting poem. He coined words out of mom and dad, and then he made a poem out of it, out of those words. But it was a very interesting piece that took a lot of creativity, but it lacked a title. Then I told him that, that is not a poem, it's something else. I said, why? It's because it has no title. Basically, have titles. They are supposed to have titles. You may find an author, and finally, when the author is not is unknown, they always find anonymous below it. But those are the basics, or the framework that creates a poem. It must have a title. Then I told him that, you create a title. And he made a title of the poem and it became a poem. So we are going at poetry. And why? Because of 5 important important objectives why we should look at poetry now that we're at home, because it takes quite a lot of time to master the skill of reading and understanding poem because of the nature, the structure of poetry. It's because it uses it limits language. So they use the compact language. So that's why it's a bit tricky to understand, but you'll find that it's the easiest. Actually, it's one of my best subjects that I performed, getting A in poetry, even when I studied it at the university. So is for especially for students, to help students develop better reading approaches of the poems. And the second objective is how to understand poems met for the first time, how to understand them. And the other objective features to grasp in the analysis of poetry. And of course, preparing for external examinations. And those writers who want to be budding writers or who want to be poets, then probably skills of writing about poetry. So it's better that we know the approaches, because if you don't know the approaches of how to handle, how to understand the poem met for the first time. But like I always keep telling you that it's basic that you look at the title of the poem. Look at the title of the poem and read the first stanza to get the title in your mind. It unravels, it unwraps, it probably it gives you a clue of what the poem is about. Read the poem and stanza. It of what the poem is about, because we said that poetry uses they try to compare language, but that does not mean it's that they don't have very long poems. And actually we shall look at some of those long poems. Our own Okot takes a Song of Lawino. It's a poem, but it is a whole book. So a clue of the definition of poetry there are very, very, very many definitions, but we are going to take this one, which is simply saying that poetry is patterned language used by a poet to dramatize the experience of life. The language used is elevated, strong, and you'll find that at times it's high emotion. So poetry is patterned language used by the poet. The poet is the one who writes. The person that writes the poem is called the poet. And to dramatize the experiences of life. So if you underline dramatize experiences of life. So initially, why would we intend to dramatize the experiences of life? Then the language used is elevated, strong, and highly emotional. So that's the definition. That's one of the definitions. So here we are looking at we are underlining the language used. We are underlining the word elevated, strong, and highly emotional. So you find that poets use that elevated language because we are dramatizing situations of life. So that is one of the definitions of poetry. Then Samuel Coleridge, one of those scholars, literature scholars, says that poetry is the best words in the best orders. Then a scholar called T.S. Eliot. By the way, you need to look at those scholars if you are especially a literature student. You need to look at Samuel Coleridge. You need to look at the scholars like T.S. Eliot. T.S. Eliot on his side says poetry is not a turning loose of emotion, but an escape from emotion. It is not the expression of personality, but an escape from personality. So, if you look at definitions of poetry, you find that there is that element of elevation, using the best language that we can come across, using the best words, like Coleridge says, the best words in the best order. So if you attempt to write a poem, you choose your best words, like the poet uses the brightest colors. The greatest artist uses the brightest colors. So when it comes to poetry, you also use your best words at your disposal, such that you dramatize life experiences like we've seen. Because poets don't write out of the blue. They write from our own experiences. Like when we begin to grow up, we go through experiences. And I think you think children of about 8 years or 6 to 8 years begin to experience life. Because at 6 years, you can recall your childhood experiences. So let's take it from 8 to adulthood, 8 till we die. We go through experiences. So we dramatize experiences through poetry. We pour our emotions through poetry. Then another scholar called William Wordsworth, it's also one of those great poets, and we shall be looking. Actually, these ones are poets of nature. William Wordsworth, T.S. Eliot, William Shakespeare are poets of nature, and we shall know why they are called the poets of nature. Now, William Wordsworth defines poetry as the spontaneous flow of powerful feelings, that emotions recollected in tranquility. The spontaneous flow of powerful feelings. That's according to William Wordsworth. Emotions are recollected in tranquility. So those are definitions that's defined by the scholars. So we're taking a short break, but when we return, of course, we shall go into details and see the importance of poetry to us as individuals. It's the journey here on UBC Radio with me, Ngobi George.
Works towards Vision 2040. UBC Radio is dedicated to the development of Uganda. Join us every day for transformative programs in English, Swahili, and Luo. This is UBC Radio.
Oh my God, Bomba make my beat.
Kampala, everybody mention this. Only sniper, sharpshooter.
Trying to get paid, take money, cash checks. You see the set, that's Lash, that's Dex. Young C, Young Shorty, Milcavelli. White bricks, True Religion. On the telly, it's me. Wiz got the house full of freaks. That's why I haven't been around for a week. I'm getting pounds in my sleep. I'm at the top of the mountain, it's peak. Bring it back before the villain. I had a life, real talk, true religion. It's in the blood, in the jeans, in the stitching. Walked in, no weapon, made a killing. Tongue kissing, pretty women. New iPhone cause I'm done with all the bitching. Tryna be in my position. Keep my shades on cause they're trying to see the vision.
She tell me, bad man, see I need your love. See I need your love. Me need you close to me. Me tell her say me, oh stay on the road. Bad energy stay far away. Make you stay far away. Just give me love for the night. Give me love for the night. Yeah, waste no time.
Breakfast in bed on a plane. I could never complain. I was walking with the limp, had the cane. Deck said greatness and nothing was the same. Now we're set for life. I saw the turn up button and I pressed it twice. You heard I'm in the club, then my best advice is put your shoes on and come and get your wife. Cause we've been having sex just for exercise. Every night, man, are doing sexercise. She look into my eyes, now she's mesmerized.
She tell me, bad man, see I need your love. See I need your love. Me need you close to me. Me tell her say me, oh stay on the road. Bad energy, stay far away. Make you stay far away. Just give me love for the night. Give me love for the night. Girl, waste no time.
Hey, they better get used to the flex. African man, you see the jewels on my neck. Black James Bond, that's the new silhouette. You see me in the street and I was moving correct. Been running around trying to do the home run. Left that girl, she was no fun. I tie one, smoke one, big chief skeppy and I answer to no one. Counting my blessings, I'm feeling special. Bird's eye view, SK level. Give them the shaku when I dance with the devil. Young fella Kuti, the return of the rebel. I told her I need some space. Real busybody, never stay in one place. And she knows I got more tricks under my sleeve. That's why she never wants me to leave.
She tell me, bad man, see I need your love. See I need your love. Me need you close to me. Me tell her say me, oh stay on the road. Bad energy, stay far away. Make you stay far away. Just give me love for the night. Give me love for the night. Girl, waste no time.
Playing Uganda's #1 hits.
Ling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a, baby. Ling-a-ling-a, everything go be well.
Keeping it home-based. You are listening to UBC Radio.
Take a walk of literature in the Journey program, a memorable walk of life into creative writing, arts, fiction, and non-fiction every Saturday from 12 to 1 p.m. only on UBC Radio. From Julius Ochwinyo to Susan Chiguri to Jack Mapanje, join us on the journey as we take you into the lives of various writers in the world of literature. The Journey on UBC Radio.